on Facebook as well. I'm delighted you could join us. Our sponsor is Cameron Commercials. If you're looking for a quality new or used van, Sean's your man. Go to CameronCommercials.com and he'll help you out. In the studio, Alan Rough, Alec Ray and Tam McInnes wearing normal clothing because of the weekend. And boy, are you a happy man not to have a heart strip on today.
I was 10 minutes away from eternal embarrassment, to be honest with you, and the strip was already, the wheels were in motion from people at Hearts to get me the strip. So I'm pretty glad that Celtic come back and win, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, just before we start, and obviously I think the good thing about it, and thank God I've got the three guys with me here, is we will try and give you our honest opinion on the events of the weekend and our take on it. And I have to say there's been a fair bit of hysteria. But to put it into perspective, it's nothing to do with football. I just thought it was only right and proper that I'd mention this. That Scott Hastings passed away at 61 years of age as a young reporter at Radio 4 in Edinburgh. The lucky situation where I could interview Scott on more than a few occasions when he would do some stuff for our rugby programme. He was a brilliant man, a great rugby player, and sadly passed away. And it puts life into perspective. 61 years of age, Robbie, yeah. And I was devastated when I heard it.
Yeah, I got very friendly with him and his wife and the family. You know, we used to go up to Aberdeen every year and play Pro-Am golf day, and it was a whole weekend. It was playing cricket and everything, you know, and unfortunately I was at his wife's funeral a couple of years ago. Tragic circumstances there as well. So I don't think a lot of us knew the situation he was in. You know, they obviously kept it in-house. But when I heard the news yesterday, I think maybe more than me would be devastated by the guy. He's just such a nice guy, and anybody who came across him, he's so focused, particularly in the rugby, obviously did all the World Cups and everything, but sad thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Our thoughts and prayers go out to all his family and friends. We love our sport, we certainly love football, and what a weekend it was. The main headlines: Celtic win the title on the final day, the SPFL clear up Whistlegate, I thought I'd tag it like that, pitch invasion, Hearts players, allegations of being attacked, intimidated, and crowd trouble in the city centre. We'll debate that. Motherwell secure 4th place. Congratulations to them. Andrew Cavenagh is sticking by Danny Rohl. Scott Arfield's in line to be the player coach at Livingston. It's the playoffs with Partick Thistle going to take on St Mirren, and we still have the small matter of the cup final to come. And by the way, the special one is back at Real Madrid on a 2-year deal. There you are. I've just managed to cover as many of the bases as I possibly can. So with that in mind, Jose Mourinho, the special one, I thought I'd do the elite joinery and fire protection quiz for you, and it's fairly straightforward. How many trophies has Jose Mourinho won at Real Madrid? Do you want to have a wee go at that one? Because he's been there before.
10.
7.
I'll go 6.
6, okay. We'll give you the answer at the end of the programme today. Good luck with that. Thanks to Elite for sponsoring our quiz question as ever. And we'll start off by saying congratulations to Derek McInnes. Scottish Football Writers Association had their dinner last night. They've had some fantastic speakers along the way, and eventually they just had to cut the budget, you know, year in, year out. Tam, you were the main speaker. You were the main speaker last night.
Yeah, struggling there.
Hold on to that.
5 minutes into it, I was like, ooh, a wee uppercut.
Yeah. Did you go down well?
Yeah, it was good. I was on after Big Chris Sutton.
It's Toby then,
I think Derek must have thought when he sat down, me and him were the speakers. So.
Yeah. Did you do walk on at the end?
No.
So just some.
No, kept it non-Celtic Rangers, but no, I've been doing well. And I thought Roger Hanna, who was hosting it for the first time, done really well as well. So it was a great night, and fair play to Derek for turning up. Must have been a tough one for him. And Claudio Braga spoke really well as well. So congratulations to him, and obviously Barney Stewart as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Barney Stewart picked up the Scottish Football Writer young player, but great. Listen, you know, it must have been a tough time for him. We will discuss and digest all the events and try and offer our take on it without too much hysteria. But to turn up at that event, you know, it would have been the hardest thing, bearing in mind they've been at the top of that table for so long, Alec.
Yeah, I think it would have been a body blow on the back of the developments the day before. And the disappointment, Peter, because they've led for such a long time. And but I think it says a lot for Derek. You know what I mean? He's been recognised by the writers. These guys, you know, they trap up all over the stadiums, the grounds throughout the course of the year. And they've obviously announced Derek as the manager. I think he's been absolutely tremendous. I think he's led that team brilliantly. And I think they are a mould of him as a person. You know, you watch him develop over the years. And he's got them really bang at it, and unfortunately for them, he just couldn't get over the line in the end.
Yeah, we'll discuss that because it was the showdown. It was the one that everybody was talking about. 3-1, Celtic won it in the end. The atmosphere was unbelievable, Roughie. I was there, obviously not in the press box, but pretty close to it. The atmosphere was incredible. It wasn't a great game, and if I'd rather we'll start with the positives and then we'll get into the negatives. But in the end, you know, Martin O'Neill made, as Derek McInnes had been able to do on many occasions, he utilised the squad, changed the formation, and the changes won the game for them. Yeah,
you're right. You know, the game itself. You know, and after 45 minutes, I think if I'd been a Hearts player, I would be saying to myself, "We can do this." You know, this team aren't great. This team aren't causing as many problems. You get the first goal. Unfortunately, the penalty knocks you back a wee bit, but certainly in the dressing room, you would believe in that you could get something out of that game. But I thought when the clock hit 75, a lot of Hearts players looked tired. They looked really tired, mentally and physically. And obviously, as you said, Martin threw in the subs that turned the game for me. You know, I thought they came on, they were fresh, and the Celtic at that time were going forward and hit the post. You know, a couple of wee goalie had a good save, but you saw it coming. But I mean, to be 3 minutes away for winning the league would be hard to take.
The other thing about it, and I know some people have been, you know, and you guys are professional footballers, some people have been getting miffed about Derek's tactics of wasting time. This is a team that have led the table for so long. You're going into basically 60,000 who are against you, and you're trying to come out and please 750 fans, and you're trying to take on a team that they're favourites then to win it, and to score from the corner. You know, you're automatically thinking any team would use every trick in the book.
Yeah, I don't think it's time wasting. I think it's game management, and that's, you know, Derek's great at that. I think his team were really good at that the whole game. I thought the first half he had his tactics perfect. He left Austin Trusty on the ball. You let him have it. I think he had the most touches of the ball in the first half. You let him have it. He didn't double the. You know, he just let, because he can't pass the ball. He's a bag of nerves. Kabori dropped into McGregor the whole first half. Very disciplined. Dropped into him. McGregor couldn't get on the ball either. The two fullbacks I thought snuffed out Yang and Tenekti, and Hearts were brilliant in the first half. And if they got in at 1-0, I think they'd have won the league, Peter. I think that penalty just before half time was crucial for Celtic to get.
Was it a penalty?
Yeah, it's a penalty kick. It comes off his hand. I don't think there's any disputing that, but I just thought at that time Celtic were struggling, and if Hearts could have got in at 1-0, I'd have fancied them to go and win the game. But just Celtic getting that goal, and then the start of the second half a little bit better. As Roughie said, the substitutions that came on, Hearts looked leggy. I think Beningame going off was a huge blow for them.
The two injuries he got early doors time really gave him, it was a real setback for them, because it then kind of hampers what you can do later on in the game, because you've already used the 2 moments.
I also thought the big blow, and we're not making excuses, we're making observations on it. I thought Leonard and Halkett going into it without those two as well. You know, because if you're looking for a rear guard and you're looking for defence and you're looking for the midfielders to suddenly lock in, and then Halkett and Finlay would have been there. I'm not saying it would have changed the game, but those things are blows as well. Yeah. And another thing, if you look at it, Alec, I just put together the post split. You know, Martin O'Neill's side after the defeat to Dundee United win 8 consecutive games.
Oh no, it's incredible.
You know, and then from the 14th of March, Hearts had 2 defeats to Killie and Celtic, and the draws against Livingston and Motherwell absolutely killed them. Rangers, 4 consecutive defeats out of 5 after the split.
Yeah. No, listen, if you're touching on Rangers, that's nowhere near good enough. You know, they folded. You know, we talk about the pressure, and I think we'll go into that later on, Peter, about the mentality and things. It's been very well documented from the Rangers' perspective, from the manager and now the owner, Cavenagh. So, you know, but the one thing that Celtic did was they went into overdrive at that period, and they showed a level of consistency. And it was interesting because we were sitting in here, I don't know, 5-6 games to go and go, listen, don't worry about it. People, they're going to drop points. You know, each team, we said this week in, week out, Celtic never, and they were relentless and they managed to go over the line.
Yeah, and there's a few bits that we have to try and clear up, Robbie. The referee clears up the fact that when Celtic scored the third goal, the full-time whistle's blown. End of story.
Yeah,
I didn't see it. I didn't hear it.
No, he must have been the only one that heard it.
I must admit, I looked at him. I mean, do you know the funny thing is, Roughie, and this is the one thing that takes us into the area where I think we've got to pull no punches on it. I didn't hear that, didn't see it. I saw the fans coming on to the park. I could hear the majority of people in the ground were absolutely raging with them. These were people who were jumping on. At one point, Tam, before I get to the Hearts players, at one point I looked and there was a guy who easily was 50 years of age running about on the park, and I'm thinking, what are you doing? What are you doing? You know, why are you on the park? Now, we could have the Rod Petrie line from many, many moons ago, you know, the over-exuberance. I get where Martin O'Neill's coming from. They've just won the league. You get people jumping onto the park, you get kids jumping onto the park, you know, that's fine. But when you get to a point, Robbie, and I watched the two Hearts players specifically, because I was watching and I was in a position in that stand where I could see clearly
Was that
the main
Shankland?
stand.
Shankland,
And the fans were goading him and they were coming towards him. Now, I don't know as a professional footballer, Tam, but if somebody's coming towards you, you are not wondering, you know, am I going to let me? I'm going to wait. You know, you are trying to get him off you. They shouldn't have been subjected to the intimidation, the goading, and a couple of them were attacked. And I think the Celtic fans are embarrassed by that group of people who thought it was okay to go towards Hearts players. I thought it was bang out of order.
Yeah, I think everybody to a man would agree with that. You know, you heard the booing, you know, from the majority of the supporters in there. They knew exactly what was happening. At that situation in a game, you should be celebrating, no talking about all the bad things about it. And that's what these people went on the park did. They took away a wee bit at that moment in time of the celebration that should have been there, and the chance for the Hearts players to go to their supporters and say thanks very much. So that's what that hooligan element that went on the park did for that game.
The police have said that they'll view the CCTV. Innocence or guilt will not be determined by punters or pundits or anybody putting out their own narrative. Guilt will be decided by people who check and say, why were you on the park? We've got CCTV of you. If you have been in any way guilty of attacking a Hearts player, then you'll be found out. That will be determined by the police, and the SPFL will look at the footage and they'll determine what fine comes Celtic way, because I think they know they're going to get a fine.
Yeah, they certainly are, Peter, at the very least. You know, you were at the game, you're at 50 yards for the action. You know, so you've got a better view than any of us here, and if you're saying that, you know, Hearts players were attacked, then, you know, I'm going to take your word for that. So there's going to be CCTV looked at, there's going to be police involved, and I'd like to think if they catch people who are on there, you know, and assaulting Hearts players, they'll be banned for life. And there's no other getting away from that. You can't just say, oh, we'll fine you or you get a year's ban. You don't get back in the stadium.
Yeah, one of the things that I found really disturbing at the point, and because I know a lot of the backroom team at Hearts, I could see one of the people who works in Hearts administration, Claire Cowan, coming onto the park, and she looked visibly shaken and upset as she was trying to get the Hearts off the park. And that, for me, I thought was a really scary moment if you are there. I'm not surprised about them just going straight on the bus and just going. They must have been absolutely devastated. On the flip side of that, you know, the majority of Celtic fans, Roughie, are there to enjoy the game. John Swinney, the First Minister's come out today and said that look at legislation to make it illegal to go onto the park. You know, I don't see that. I don't see that coming into effect. That is, Martin O'Neill said in TalkSport today, you're talking about they've scored a goal to win the league. People are excitable, over exuberant. They will go on the park, but you know there's so many clubs right across the whole of the UK. Yeah. Fans go on the park. What are you doing? You're arresting them all?
Yeah, we see it every year. I mean, you see it in particular down in England. I mean, Alex probably saw it down there at the playoffs. You know, most of the end of the games, sometimes the whole park's covered in supporters because they're celebrating their team. But it's stay away from the opposition. You know, celebrate with your own players. You know, and enjoy the moment. But when you start doing the things that you were talking about there, that's just a no-go area. But the situation of when that goal went in, I don't think you can, and I don't know if you can blame the police. You know, for the You know, they're there to stop that kind of thing, or the stewards, we all say, you know, you could do better. But I don't think anybody expected it.
Peter, sorry, so see the thing is, in terms of where we go as a society, or sorry, as an organisation, the football and things, where do we go with it all? Because if you don't put any legislation in, if the SFA don't do any sanction, like a little fine. So you've got the SFA, you've got the SPFL, and you've got Police Scotland, who they feel as if they've been hard done by, you know, maybe some of the stuff after the game and things. So you have a real kind of concoction of things that if nothing gets done or nothing gets put in place, then it just rolls on.
I accept I accept that point. And by the way, I would usually read out quite a number of people who want to engage with us on the programme. You know, I'm not really bothered whether you like what I'm saying or not. I don't care. I was at the game, I watched it. I don't think fans should be allowed to go on and intimidate and goad and go towards Hearts players and threaten their safety. I just don't think it's right. And where do we go? Well, I'll tell you what we've witnessed in the last week, which again sums the whole thing up. You have police outside John Beaton's house. You have, and I know this for a fact, Andrew Dallas with the worst week of his life, you know, for what he called on the VAR. John Beaton calls a handball. These boys are doing their job, yet their families are under threat. You have a situation now where you have, and quite a lot of people buy into it, and that's fine. You know, you don't need to come and watch PLZ soccer or listen to radio stations if you don't want. You've got your freedom of choice, you can do what you want. But we have, in the last year, I've witnessed more than anything, you have people, and you and I have had this discussion when you first come back to Scotland, you have flag wavers, you have people who are absolutely so partisan on air, you know, and I've had, in the last 24 hours, somebody on their Twitter naming me in a joist that he's had with you. You have fans literally on parading as pundits, making all sorts of stupid statements to try and, stick with their own crowd. You know, but there's a lot of really good journalists, a lot of really good pundits who are balanced, who can look at something and call it as it is. But I don't know how we do it. I don't know how we police it. It's so difficult to police, Alec. You can't go and arrest everybody who's on the park. No. You certainly can't arrest people like the person who's been arrested for releasing John Beaton's.
No, because that's a data protection thing, isn't it? And so see, the thing is, and the ramifications of that, what was it, online? They did it on Twitter?
Yeah.
So the ramifications for that are absolutely idiotic and madness, because ultimately John Beaton's now sitting with a police escort patrol outside his house, which is not acceptable. Now, does that detract from... So there's two separate things. This boy decides to put that online, which causes John Beaton untold distress, which is bang out of order, and I don't think anybody could condone that kind of stuff. That's just madness. But then you've also got the refereeing standards, which most people, I feel, is across the board, feel as if they've declined a little bit this year.
Yeah, I just think, you know, and it's not just about... It's certainly not just about Celtic, Roughie. The social media, society as a whole thinks it's okay that you can get away with.
Well, I think we talked about it a couple of years ago, and there was somebody down in Parliament or something that was bringing out some new legislation. Instead of hiding under a name, you have to be published as the name. You know that name behind it.
Yeah.
And I thought they were going to stop that. I thought they were going to pursue that and get that out the window. But that obviously, I mean, these people are just hiding behind a name. You know, and well done to the police for catching that guy with Beaton. I don't know, because I suppose he would use another name. So it can be done. You can do it. But as you say, you know, there was far too many people on that park. Not everybody, you know, threatening Hearts players, but the ones that were threatening them, I'm sure CCTV can catch them. They have to be seen to be doing something. Yeah. I mean, remember the guy that get caught and his company sacked him?
Yes.
You know, things like that. That's the things that get... You would like to think that's the thing that gets through to other people to stop them doing it.
What about strict liability, Peter?
They tried that, like 2 years ago.
I don't think...
And all the clubs voted against it.
No. I know the clubs are voting against it, but what I'm saying to you is if certain fan bases, regardless of what club it is, then if there was a punishment to that club, a deterrent, so you say, if he's got, not necessarily the weekend, and I'm talking about across the board.
Well, if that was the case, Hearts would win the league, because Celtic fans came on when they scored in the game against Rangers.
No, listen.
No, do you know what I mean?
He's talking about their own supporters.
I'm just talking about going forward. Say, example, just pluck it. Any fan base comes on the pitch,
yes,
and you forfeit the game. Literally that. So what I'm saying is, then the responsibility becomes to the club for the fans' behaviour, and then that way there's nowhere to go. But then what you do is you put a stop to, because fans will not come on the pitch.
It costs the game.
It costs you 3 points.
Well, can I tell you something? I understand where you're coming from, but the problem is here, you know, Celtic and Rangers are now in a battle to see who's paying for when the Broomloan Road end was wrecked.
Yep.
In the Scottish Cup tie.
Yep.
There's a debate over how much money. The Celtic fans don't get that they've wrecked an area where Celtic are going to have to pay money. I don't know how, I mean, and by the way...
Does that not go back to liability then?
Well,
has that not been the case for a long time? Because I think...
Yeah, that has been the case.
For Rangers and Celtic fans going to both grounds, they have to pay
But it hasn't
damage.
stopped them, so strict liability...
But be a bit a minute, Peter, and listen, we see this a lot with pyrotechnics. They go, oh, we're not getting a monkeys, we're going to just kind of whistle. We love this display. It's another £20,000 fine. It's not really it. It's not really hurting anyone, is it?
No,
really?
but I think the clubs right across Europe, and especially in Scotland, I think you're right, Robbie, I don't think they want strict liability. They're
Imagine it was points, Peter.
Oh, absolutely.
Can you imagine, Tom?
You've got to do
Are
something.
they going to think about it? And by the way, see if you think, like, as an example, at the weekend, the majority of Celtic fans weren't quite happy with these folk on the pitch. According to, not just you, but most people were at the game, they were booing. If they were going on the pitch, knowing fine well that we're going to lose points, they would be self-policing, believe me. If you were to go on that pitch, you'd be going, where are you going?
Yeah.
It'd be filled in after the game.
Absolutely.
Costing the team a league.
And listen, the other thing about it, and this is the other thing about the context of it all, is, you know, the majority of Celtic fans were there. The atmosphere was absolutely fantastic. The 752 Hearts fans were there, were singing their hearts out as well. It had the makings of just an unbelievable occasion. Had Hearts been able to hold on, you know, can you imagine the feeling? I mean, the pubs up and down Edinburgh were all stacked with people. It was absolutely incredible. I've no problem with the and by the way, I'm giving you the narrative of what's come out from it, Roughie, which is basically from the moment it happened, Hearts condemned the behaviour and then said, you know, the pitch invasion caused a chaotic end, and nobody seemed to know whether or not the match had been brought to a finish. They've mentioned that as well, but they paid tribute to Derek McInnes and the staff, and none of them deserved the disgraceful scenes that unfolded. Now, SPFL sent a congratulations to Celtic, and then at the footnote of it all, and I'm paraphrasing here, condemning the scenes which saw a number of Celtic supporters encroach onto the field of play. They're going to wait for the match reports on that and see what happens, and they'll obviously urge anyone with information about alleged criminal activity to contact Police Scotland. Celtic, to their credit, issued an apology to Hearts, their staff, for what prevailed after the ball hit the back of the net. We apologise to Hearts for the situation encountered by their players and staff at the conclusion of the game, and for the fact that these events prevented them from saluting their own supporters at the end of an enthralling campaign to which they've contributed so much. I don't know if the strict liability, I understand where you're coming from. I don't know if that will be brought into effect. I don't think they'll embrace it. But the other thing that John Swinney did point out was, should there have been a situation where Celtic should have made known that there was going to be a gathering, an event, if they won the league at Celtic Park or at a park or somewhere,
Glasgow
Glasgow Green, rather than this situation which you have in the city centre, Roughie, where Yobs just wrecked the place.
It's not the first time it's happened. It's happened there. It's happened at George Square, and the damage that gets created is just not on at all. You know, and for it to have happened once, twice, three times, and something or somebody, I don't know who would be charged it. Maybe the club themselves have the responsibility to say, right, you're going to the Glasgow Green. There's a cordoned off bit there, and that's where you're going, or something like that. But nobody seems to have taken notice it. Nobody's taken, you know, it's happened and they just forgot about it.
Do you think there needs to be some kind of summit in the summer? Something? I mean, I know. Listen, I know George Folks. What did I say to you on Friday? I say to you, if Celtic win the league, there will be calls for inquiries. There will be, you know, this, that, the other would take place, and that's exactly the way it's unfolded. George Folks is calling for an inquiry. He's written a letter to FIFA. Now, I'm not in any way diminishing his right to do that. I'm just saying, do the SPFL need to take the lead first of all and try and sort
and the
this
clubs
out?
as well. I think the clubs have got it's their supporters that are causing all the damage. So I think they all should get run a table. You know, we keep hearing about meetings they keep having, but this is getting so important now that it's happening far too often, and it has to stop.
Peter, listen to John Swinney today. Did he kind of allude that there was a fan zone place so that the Hearts fans would have been attending?
We got information from Hearts that if they were to win the league, this would be the process, and the process would be I think they'd go up to the city chambers at a certain time and go all the way in a parade down to Tynecastle. The fans would be allowed into the stadium, and then they could celebrate with the players.
Open-top bus.
There would be interviews. There'd be an open-top bus as well.
Because see, the thing is, listen, see with the various councils, so you've got Edinburgh Council, you've got Glasgow Council, and I think because you need you need permission from the council. If you go to Glasgow Green, you would need permission for Glasgow City Council there, and I don't think that's hard. If Rangers win the league, take them to Bellahouston Park. You know, if they want to take a lap on around Ibrox, and then obviously Parkhead, you go to the nearest park to that.
Yeah.
And then facilitate that, and then you would be easier for security and things because it would be in a park. You're not in the streets of Glasgow roaming about to whatever time, across the board, or Edinburgh for that matter.
We wait to find out what punishment will come the way of the people who were on the park, because you're not allowed on the park. Simple as that. So we'll wait to find out what happens there. It doesn't take away, and I think Martin O'Neill was right to point it out, it doesn't take away from the fact that, over the course of the game, over the course of the season, they've somehow, through all the madness, Roughie, Wilfred Nancy, Brendan Rodgers, they've somehow, with a 74-year-old man, managed to get in there and wave the wand, work out how to get the best out of a Honda Civic.
Yeah.
I mean,
I know you.
I mean, honestly, I hate to say it to you, but I did say to you, I said, there is something about Martin O'Neill. We have chopped and changed our opinion, but I said the Martin O'Neill effect, and I was mocked for it on this programme. The Martin O'Neill effect is great. There's something about him. He still has what people have in this game, and I think you have it as a quality, is you want to do something for him. You want to put your head through a brick wall.
We've said that all along about a manager coming into a new club. When he walks through that door, you then either look up and go, wow.
He's got that aura about him.
And it's the same at every club, you know, when that new manager walks through and he's got something. And Martin has got something, there's no doubt about it. He's been there, he's done it. And he's actually been honest enough to say, when at the training ground, people think I'm a vagrant. Because he doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
He just walks about.
Well,
the two coaches obviously do the coaching. He does his bit.
Yeah.
Whatever that is, And if you ask any of the players, when he walks into the dressing room and he says something, then they take it in.
Yeah.
And that is a great thing to have if you're a manager.
But I'm not... I think he does something. I think what he does is he sits there with the coaches and said, listen, this is the way I want to play it. You go and instruct that. I don't need to be on the training pitch, but I'm going to work out the motivation. I'm going to look at the way the game's on. Listen, this guy's won 2 European Cup medals. This guy's won 2 championships. He's been unbelievable and countless honours as a manager in England and in Scotland. So he knows how to change games. He understands it. But the great thing that I think about him, Alec, is you turn around and have a word with you. He puts your hand on your back and says, listen, son.
I know exactly. Do you know the thing is, because I worked with Peter Reid, never took any of the training. And obviously he did some incredible things at Sunderland. But they have a persona. When they talk, you're like, you're hanging off every word. They did. Walter Smith had it as well.
Yeah.
I know Walter did the coaching, but he had that presence and that kind of. And I'm thinking back to, because before you threw in the 2 Champions League European Cups back in his day.
Yeah.
Do you remember him sitting on the panel for ITV?
Cavenagh.
Do you remember he was sitting with two World Cup winners? And he went, boys, you don't even know who I am, but I had two European Cups in the bag, so calm down, boys. Do you know what I mean? So that shows you he's got balls to kind of go, cool. So the thing is, and a lot of these boys wouldn't have known who Martin O'Neill was when they came in. But as soon as you find out and you get that kind of interaction with them, right away you know. Because you could sense it off these guys.
Yeah, and the other thing about it, which I thought was fantastic, and I've got a lot of time for him, Tam, is he looked at it at half time and thought, this isn't working. And he did say on Friday, you know, we are going to throw the kitchen sink at this. We're going all out, all guns blazing. So he brings on Iheanacho, and then the real three after that swung it for me. He brings on James Forrest, who then goes forward immediately. He brings on Sirachi, who's going past players.
He was very good.
And then he brings on the forgotten boy who was very, very good before he got injured, Callum Osmond.
Yeah, the substitutions changed the game, changed the flow of the game, changed the momentum of the game. And as Roughie said earlier, I think when Nacho turns inside, hits the post, and then it was a header that came in, and it was a great save of the goalkeeper, you're thinking, right, there's a goal coming here. And I just think, you know, Martin's obviously a top manager, but you're right, I think he smells something, and he goes, right, I'm going to play him, I'm going to put him on there, and he knows how to get results. So I think Martin O'Neill's dragged a mediocre Celtic squad over the line this season. Honestly, if you don't get him in, Celtic don't win the league. You know, if Wilfred Nunce is allowed to sit
another couple of weeks
for another couple of weeks, Celtic don't win the league. They pulled the plug at the right time, they got Martin back, and they've won it in the last day. But if they left it another couple of weeks, it was done.
Tam, do you know, you make a really interesting point there about the subs. I think over the course of the season, I think the biggest impact has came for the Celtic bench, because the amount of times they bring players on and they get late goals. You know, Iheanacho, Forrest has done it as well, and that for me is crucial, because we've spoke about the importance of Hearts. They look this season, they've managed to bring guys off the bench. You go, oh, that's like for like, and I think the depth has helped Hearts considerably. But I think the class coming off of the Celtic bench is ultimately it's got them the title, because they've scored so many goals late on.
Do you think you should be offered the job? Do you think you'll want to take the job? Or do you think there's someone else?
Well, obviously everybody's listening to the wee sound bites after the game. When they ask him, he'll go, I'm 74, you know, I like having my coffee down in London and all that. But if he gets offered it, he's not going to say no. If he doesn't take it, I really do think he should have some part in Celtic moving forward. I think him and the board are obviously getting pelters off all the fans all year. If they're not sensible enough, they're putting him on that board. Because if he goes on that board, that'll quell some of the stuff that's going about. And his wisdom he's got in the game must rub off on them, particularly where we're talking about the rejuvenation of the whole team. You're talking 15 players maybe going out and 15 players coming in. So you need some.
Is that Roughie? Is that what they're talking about this year? They're 15 out?
They've got about 8 out in loan.
The loan players will all go. Yeah. There's going to be drastic changes. They're also, by the way, the division between fans and the board hasn't gone away. So I wonder if Dermot Desmond will look and try and, you know, look at changing the board, freshening it up, and then maybe changing the attitude, because the next person who comes in, if it's Martin, remember Martin was the manager. He controlled everything at Celtic first time around. He'll not be coming back in, you know, looking for some people saying, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. If he gets a 1 or a 2 year deal, he'll be saying, well, I'm the manager. I'm controlling this, you know. So I think from that point of view, he's definitely going to. There's going to be some talking to say, have I got the money? Have I got the backing to get the players I want? The same ones that Brendan wanted.
Do you think they'll give him the power, Peter? Because modern day managers don't tend to have that whole autonomy.
Well, Xabi Alonso's just been made manager of Chelsea.
Yes,
you know, right. So it's you know, it's not as if it's something that's.
I was going to say, Alec, in this day and age, Alec, if you had 2 young coaches, can you afford to have somebody like that?
Martin?
Just making.
Give you the energy. The younger coaches give the energy.
I'm going to be honest with you. I think Maloney's helped him considerably. So, and I genuinely don't know how it played out at half time yesterday, whatever it was, a couple of days ago. I don't think that played out. I really genuinely believe that Maloney had a big impact on that going to the back three.
Yeah.
Genuinely a day, because see, the thing is, if you're happy with a back four and you've gone that most of your career, to flip to a 3.
Yeah, he played a 3 when he was with Celtic, when they were Celtic the first time. 3 big centre halves and a gap one side, Thompson the left. So he might have gone back to embracing that. Sometimes, as you know yourself, sometimes it's about the players you've got available that can allow you to do that. But it got to the point where he said, well, I'm hooking Trusty because this league's slipping away. You know, and you could sense, you said they were tired, Roughie. I thought they were tense, the Hearts players. I thought they started to get nervous.
Well, I think when you're at 1 each, you're you're just hoping you've got individuals in there who are going to put their body in the line and stop them creating chances. But Celtic started getting chances where they weren't getting them anyway, and then the mentality thing comes into it. Lawrence Shankland ran his course. You know, he wasn't shutting down people. Yeah. He'd last 15 minutes he'd done his bit. And I think psychologically you must be saying to yourself, 3 minutes. 3 minutes, man. Surely we can hold it for 3 minutes.
Yeah. I thought we were trying to put the ball out of the stadium.
I don't know if it was attention, Peter. I genuinely felt as if it was a dip because of the amount of pressing they done in the first half.
Yeah.
So, you know, you're pressing your life out and then all of a sudden you're kind of... So much so that they get a couple of injuries.
Yeah.
You know, people are going, oof, the hamstrings are gone because they're putting so much into it.
But I remember you a couple of weeks ago, and this is the key element here, and I think this is where the difference is when you've got players who suddenly then want to go forward and go past the man. That, you know, you're creating a 2-on-1.
Yep.
You know, because Sirachi suddenly is a left back who goes past two
people,
players.
yeah.
You know, Forrest goes forward better than Yang could on the flank.
Osman
and then
breaks
Osman breaks. He gives you a little bit of pace, and there's two up front, Roughie. But listen, at the cold light of day, I think Martin and the players and Callum McGregor and everybody's got the right to have a little. I mean, I noticed the players were out and they were out with the social media with their hand over the head and everything like that. Everybody's got the right to wallow in it. They deserve great credit for it. For Hearts, I think they can go back and say, what a season they gave us. What a season where we were here. I mean, I predicted Hearts from January would win the league. I did say last week that I thought there's no way they're going into Celtic Park and getting a draw or a win, Roughie. I just thought that they'd blown their chance by then. But, you know, we're all over the place with our predictions.
I think at the beginning of every year, I would say the neutral, maybe, you know, obviously Rangers and Celtic, somebody always wanted somebody to split them. We always wanted a challenging league, something that could, not just for the two of them to be running away with 15, 20 points. And Hearts have done that. You can't take it away from them for last October.
Done more than that, Roughie. They've not just split them, they've taken them right to the wire.
Away. And, I mean, as you read out there, that probably the last third of the season it faltered a wee bit. You know, they weren't picking up many wins as they were early on, but you can't take anything away
80
from
points.
them. Yeah.
80 points for a club out with Celtic Rangers. Yeah. It's some points tally.
Listen,
really consistent over the whole year.
Claudio Braga won Scottish Football Writers Player of the Year.
Yeah.
Barney Stewart won Young Player, but Derek McInnes won Manager of the Year. You know, and great credit to Martin O'Neill. Who do you think should be the manager? If it was, I mean, there's so many great things about to happen, but if it was me and I was looking and I was saying who would I like to see in as Celtic manager, I'm afraid.
Wait a minute, hold on.
I'm going for Jens Berthelowski.
Hey!
I know. Listen, if Celtic want to be forward thinking, they want to play the brand of football that a lot of people would like to see, I think he should be the manager. If Martin
they might need to get in quickly because there's another club in for him.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't be surprised. Who's that?
Wolfsburg.
Club abroad.
No, it's French mob, isn't it? It's
Toulouse.
Yeah.
Sorry, I know you've got a lot of contacts in the game and you've got your ear to the ground. What are you hearing?
I'm just saying that. What can I tell you something?
Come on,
Martin, I'll tell you this. Martin O'Neill was not being considered in the last month for the job as manager. Martin O'Neill was there. Just get us over the line. The first time around, he didn't get any kind of. There was no connection to say, you know, what's happening after this. Nonsense in. Thank you very much and goodbye. So when he came back in the second time, you know, you're thinking to yourself, "Oh, he's got another win. Oh, Dundee United's a setback," but then they've started to gather pace. He wasn't being considered, and I think it would be wrong not to consider him. You know, I'd like to. If Martin wants the job, great. Give him it for 2 years.
Would you not imagine? Sorry, Peter. Would you not imagine that the Celtic board would already have someone in place now? You know, the season's done.
No, that's board.
No, but wait a minute. But wait, no, but the thing is, I've had such a long time. And do you imagine being at this stage and you've actually gone and you're humming and hand whether you're going to give it to the manager you've probably not considered? Because you said a month ago it's not considered.
No, it wasn't.
What's I'm saying? So
no, and I think they were just saying, let's wait and see, let's wait and see, let's wait and see. And now he's on the verge of getting a double. And I said to you before, Tam, if Martin O'Neill wins the double, there'll be a clamour from Celtic fans to give him the job. Now, my point on this is, what's Celtic's biggest problem, apart from recruitment and the way this board has conducted itself? What's their biggest problem? The fans want to see European football and at least some kind of credibility back on the European stage. So if they want to be forward thinking, if they want to do what Dermot Desmond was able to do to try and stop Dick Advocaat's Rangers, which is quite simply go for a manager that has got a budget, can transform the squad and can bring credibility back on the European stage. Who's out there? Is it a Robbie Keane? Is it Martin O'Neill? Is he going to get a 2-year deal? You can't give him a 1-year deal. It doesn't work. All that means is you're just shunting it down the year, down the season. So I like the football Jens Bertha Lascaux played with Motherwell with the limited players that he had. I think if he was given a budget and given the same type of footballer that wanted to learn, wanted to develop, wanted to play his style, I think the Celtic fans would love it. I would certainly love to see a Jens Bertha Lascaux at Celtic. If there's a better manager out there and the Celtic board know about it, crack on, you know. But that would be my choice. I don't know about you.
From the style of play, yeah. I think any supporter would want to see that style of play that Motherwell do. You know, obviously, you would like to think Celtic would have better players than Motherwell, so that would be taking it forward. I just think this board would look at Martin O'Neill done particularly well and going, he's doing well, nobody's bothering about us. No, why don't we just give him the job and keep the success it's got?
I think we're probably a little bit longer.
Yeah, you've got to.
Well, let's wait and see, you know, because they're not getting any hassle now. Nobody's bothering their backside with the board, you know, that and Martin has done what he's done, you know, and obviously Maloney's there and the coaches are doing well, and they've already had their fingers burnt with the last guy. Yeah. So big choice who it is they bring in.
You know, Celtic fans will not forget what's going on this year, Roughie. You wait till that Scottish Cup's out of the way and they'll want matters addressed, you know. But I agree with you. I think Dermot Desmond's got 3 or 4 candidates in his mind. He's probably just actually been tweaked on the thought, wait a minute, I've got to be respectful to Martin O'Neill here and what he's done. I'll have the chat with Martin and say, Martin, where are you at? Are you tired? Do you want it for 2 years?
He says he wants it.
He'll give him it. If Martin O'Neill says...
It's a unanimous choice, I think, for the Celtic supporters as well. The popular choice. I think to a man, woman and child, they'd want Martin O'Neill as a manager.
I want him as a statue outside now, Roughie. You know, I think if he said he wants
it... It's interesting. There's one for you. Imagine you'd done a poll and went like, who would you want, Martin O'Neill or Lascaux as the next Celtic manager? I think it'd be a fascinating poll. And the reason being is because, see, for what he says about bringing the style, do you know what I like about this guy? And he's young and all, and he's got a wee bit about him. So see, when you hear him in press conferences, he's not pure emotive. It's like he's thoughtful, he's insightful, and he's also got a wee bit of bite about him. I like this guy.
Yeah, listen, give us your thoughts on it. My apologies to people that were not reading out some of the comments because, as you can imagine, some of the comments, a lot of the people we have on our programme who come on, and I'd like to thank them all. There's a lot of really good people who come on who love football and want to call it the way they see it. Some people don't like what we're saying. Some people obviously are writing their own narrative. But for the people who have followed us all through the year, thank you so much, because you know your football, you like your football. And, you know, you like the people that we brought on board. Delighted that Alec's been with us as well. And the journals has been well received. You know, I look at some other platforms and some other people. I mean, it's stuck in my throat. I've got to mention this, by the way, it's stuck in my throat. You know, here's a line that came out, and this is why it does my head in, listening to other broadcasters, some broadcasters who wear the colours of their team on the actual broadcast, who's had a dig at you, I'll get him later, was, you know, the line that came out.
Roughie's pal Ewan.
Simon Jordan's tweet, what a shame for Scottish football. Nothing exciting I knew about Celtic winning the league. Everyone can go back to not caring about Scottish football again. I mean, what does that tell you? What does that tell you about the contempt he has for Scottish football?
Yeah, but
you know, if you don't want to talk about it, if you don't like it, shut up. Shut up. Celtic have won the league. If you don't like the narrative of Celtic winning the league, shut up. Don't comment on the game.
Yeah, well, I think everybody knows that not the majority of English people down in England don't think much about our game. They think we're inferior. You just have to get a Scotland-England game and see how much they think they're better than us. But I mean, and even when teams are drawn together, Scotland teams against club teams against English teams, it's out there. You know, there's nothing we can do. All we can do is try and produce the goods up here. We don't want things like that happening at the weekend, which obviously gives people stuff to jump upon, but they have no knowledge. They don't see Scottish football. They don't come up and watch it. So I don't think they should have every right to criticise it.
We're going to talk about Rangers and we're going to talk about Motherwell shortly. But here's a competition that Simon Jordan might actually want to get involved in. It's a chance to go and see Scotland. Scotland against Haiti, Scotland against Morocco, and then Scotland-Brazil. After that, we're throwing in flights. Yeah. So after 3 games, we know we're all going back home, Roughie. We know where we are in life. We know we're all going back home.
Yeah, and he wonders why we don't want England to win in.
We'll get 14 nights accommodation, £1,000 spending money as well. And you get
you through the first couple of days.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, it gets you 2 buses to the ground. But listen, courtesy of our sponsors, Lucky Tiger, have a look and see. Roughie's acting in this is absolutely sensational. See if you can spot him.
Great.
Here's your chance to win the Scotland World Cup experience with Lucky Tiger. You and a guest could be heading to the USA to follow Scotland with tickets for all 3 group games, flights, 14 nights accommodation and £1,000 spending money included. Entries are £5. The live draw takes place on Lucky Tiger's channel on May 24th. Click the link now to enter and read the full terms and conditions. Good luck.
Enter now.
It was fantastic. It was how it didn't win a BAFTA or how it didn't win a Spotify award for podcast. I just do not know, Roughie. It was absolutely
that was brilliant, Roughie.
Sensational, son. But listen, on our YouTube homepage, click on the link. The prize draws on the 24th as well. Also, we'll announce congratulations to Jay Kelly, who'll be going to the Champions League final in Budapest. We've also got 5 runners-up. We'll be contacting them from our premium service, who'll be getting a PLZ goodie bag as well, Robbie, with
or the gear.
or the gear thrown in there. So that'll be up on our
Clothing
website.
as well.
Clothing, yeah, absolutely brilliant. A wee Gary O'Connor joke thrown in there, well done. Just can't get out of his after dinner mode, can he?
He'll do anything for a turn, won't he?
So he will, absolutely. Don't forget, Tam's got his own booking agent now. Are you going to increase your fee because you thought you went down a storm?
No, I wouldn't do that. I'm not greedy like Roughie.
Okay, we've talked about
boy.
Congratulations to Celtic for winning the title, and I think great commiserations first and foremost to Derek McInnes and the rest of the team. They made this season absolutely fantastic for all of us, and I think the Hearts fans rightly gave them a huge round of applause coming back to Tynecastle. They've been absolutely brilliant. Congratulations to Motherwell. They defeated Hibs. Fadinger's strike gives them European football. How good was that, Roughie?
I think they deserve it for what they put in this year. You know, we've been talking about. I'm getting away from Hibs and Hearts and Rangers and Celtic. The 2 teams for me, obviously, are Motherwell and Falkirk this year. I think they again have been a breath of fresh air. You know, and Motherwell in particular, obviously the style of play, and they've been a joy to watch. And when you get this far, you want to see somebody like that, getting a wee taste at the end of it. And European football is fantastic again for Motherwell to be back in there.
Yeah, they've restored my faith in the whole game. Alec, the amount of times I was at Fir Park watching them and thinking, this is sensational what this guy's doing with players.
I know.
Profile, Alec.
No, and I don't mean to be disrespectful when you say like journeyman guys that went round the block. The brand, the style. And it must be so refreshing for Motherwell fans as well, because with the greatest respect, they've probably not seen this level of playing it for the back, through the lines, pace.
Did you know about Fadinger? Did you know Elliot Watt? Had you heard of him?
I'd obviously heard of 1 or 2 of them, but it's not as if they're sitting on your radar. They're on the radar now.
Yes.
They're on the radar of all the big clubs because of what they've done this season. And I think that'll be... I think someone mentioned something a week or 2 ago, and I thought that's a really interesting point, because not only has he brought a brand of football, he has now elevated Motherwell in terms of assets, because the place is littered. You think about the start of this season to where they are now. Yeah. If you go in there and try and nick 1 or 2 of their players, then obviously you'd have to pay significant fees for them, and that's not something that you've really put at Motherwell. The odd like your turnbull's and
you get Higden moving. You know,
aye, something like that where you look at that and you go, that's like a once in a blue moon. But I think that they're littered with guys that could go for decent dough.
Brilliant to watch.
Yeah, they are, and even when it went down to 10 men, they controlled the game. And if you're a Hibs supporter watching that game, you're thinking, well, we're pretty direct, we get it ball wide, we put balls in the box. Motherwell just toyed with them in the first half. Played really, really well. And the brand of play, they deserve to finish fourth. I think it would have been a travesty if Hibs finished above Motherwell. I wanted them to finish above Motherwell, but in terms of they're chalk and cheese the way they play.
Yeah.
And Motherwell deservedly finished fourth.
Falkirk 2, Rangers 5. Chermiti gets a hat-trick. He ends up with 15 goals this season.
Yeah.
One of them he scored was an absolute raker.
Well do, wasn't it? Oh. Yeah, no, listen, see, throughout the course of this season, I've looked at this boy and without doubt you can clearly see qualities and traits. You go, oof, this boy's no bad. The problem you have at Rangers is that if you don't get between 20 and 30 goals, all of a sudden people are going, nah, not good enough. But I can actually see progression. This boy's just turned 21 as well, so they've obviously invested a lot of money in him, and there's speculation that he might leave this summer. I would like to see him another year at least to see if he can add on the numbers and be more of a focal point in the middle of the goals. I think a lot of these games where he's got maybe a couple of hat-tricks and things, I'd like to see him more prolific over a longer period, scoring them a lot more, and then that would result in a lot more return at the end of the season.
Before I get these two guys to comment on it, and I'm not going to ask for the definitive answer because I think it would be difficult in your position as the assistant at Partick Thistle, which is basically, is it the right move to keep Danny Rohl? Are you surprised that Andrew Cavenagh has come out and said he's there for next season?
No, I'm actually pleased that he has backed him, Peter, and I'll tell you the reason why is if Rangers continually go in every 6 months, 10 months, 15 months and they constantly chop and change, you will never get any continuity, and you need to give someone that opportunity to try and get at least a couple of windows, because at least then you can start getting your hallmarks. Now, just reading some of the comments over the last week or so about leaders and things, I think that is, people throw the words out, and you often hear it for guys like myself, ex-players, Bomber Brown at half-time a couple of weeks ago against Motherwell, and they talk about character and personality and mentality and all these things. I think that Danny Rohl's identified that they've not got the characters required. I think he's identified that pretty soon when he's went into that job. He's notified his boss and Cavenagh that they need to bring in more quality in terms of their leadership quality, because the way that they've fallen off the cliff and the split is alarming. And if he's identified that, then Cavanagh's obviously gone, he knows exactly what we need here.
Yeah.
Before he has to go to a new manager, he has to find all that out. Before you know, you're 6 months, 8 months down the line. So he's probably given them the benefit of the doubt here. And now they have to recruit players. But the interesting thing about it is, and I think it's been a learning curve for Cavenagh and that as well over the course of the year, it's okay going and getting your Chermitis and thinking, you know what, we'll pay 8 for him and we'll try and nick 20, or whatever that looks like with various players at a certain age. But you also have to buy quality at maybe 25, 26. And I think Chelsea are very similar in terms of, you need that balance. You look at Celtic, they've got, you've got guys like Forrest, McGregor, Tierney. So these guys will all be at a good age where they can actually lead that dressing room, and they will be the leadership group there, and they've been over the course and distance. So they need to try and get some more leaders within the dressing room.
And with that in mind, just briefly, massive clear-out coming?
Well, again, we obviously mentioned Celtic there, but you've got all these loan players that will go back, and then obviously there'll be players that don't. And by the way, Peter, don't forget, you've got Cifuentes, I think Davis is coming back, there'll be other loan players coming back as well. So they'll be trying to ship them on, so it could be a really upheaval at Ibrox.
Yeah. In the end, do you think it's a good move?
To back Danny Rohl?
Yeah. Do you think he's going to win the title?
No. I don't think he's a man for Rangers, Peter. I know people will go, you've got to give him an opportunity, but I don't know. I've been pretty consistent over the last 3, 4, 5 weeks about Steven Gerrard. I've seen him get interviewed by Ally McCoy the other day. I think, if he's...
Still in the background,
I think he's still lingering in the background, Peter, and I think if somebody says, by the way, you're getting 25, 30 million to spend, they're really getting back for Rangers, I think he would want to come back. So...
You still think he's in the background?
I still think Gerrard's still in the background to come back to Rangers.
In the summer?
Possibly.
Roughie, manager says it needs a changed or revamped squad and a pre-season. That's what Andrew Cavenagh said.
Yeah, I remember when the new manager came in right at the very beginning, and correct me if I'm wrong here, he says, bear with me, I don't know what style we want to play. I don't know what kind of players I've got. I don't know what formation we're going to play. But he said, I can tell you right now, I will find out the players who should be here and the players that shouldn't be. And I think in the wee run that he had, he's justified that amount of to back him, you know. And I think obviously he's under a wee bit of pressure if people are leaving. But I think you've got to give him a chance. You've got to give him a chance. And the owners have got to back him as well, you know, to bring in a better quality. So I think his remit when he came, he's just about done it all. Obviously, he failed. We see before the split, we were all thinking Rangers could still do it.
Aye, they were now.
We were all thinking Rangers could still. So he was there.
My point
he was there.
Rangers fans' hope from nowhere of being a transitional season. He suddenly transformed.
When there was no pressure on Peter. There was no pressure on Danny Rohl when he came in. They were third bottom, fourth bottom in the league. Then when the pressure came, how many big games did they win?
But you know the thing is,
Big games when it mattered, they couldn't win the big games.
See when he came in, he actually made them very resolute. They were the best defensive record in the league alongside Motherwell for a long period. And up until about 6, 7, 8 games ago, they've actually conceded. That was another 2 at the weekend. And they were averaging about 2.5 per game for about the last 5 or 6 games.
Yeah.
Conceded.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden they've went from being the meanest defence to being wide open.
Yeah, I just don't think he's a man. I just think in terms of winning big games, he's not done it.
You just think he's not the man because you think it's Gerrard?
No, because I just don't.
It's no Gerrard.
I don't think it's Danny Rohl. I think he's not shown that they can win big games at Rangers under pressure.
The only remit for Danny Rohl when he signs the players that he wants in the summer, Roughie, it's just simple. Second is nowhere. You've got to build a team that wins the league.
Yeah.
By the way, it's not a team that's got to bed in. Win the league or you're out.
Oh, he'll know that. He's a manager. He's sampled what it is to be with the Rangers supporters. They want to be winners. They want to win every game. So that he'll get the drift by now. So he needs to build on it next year.
Got to fill in a few things quickly. You know, when we've all bought a present as players, and then some of the staff have bought presents, there you are, Martin, that's been great, you've been absolutely brilliant. And then Martin Boyle says, oh no, by the way, I'm staying for another year, here's your presents back. It's all about.
Brilliant for Martin.
Why the turn, Sam? Why the turn of?
I just think his form over the last 2 or 3 months has been incredible, and I don't think he was going to get another contract in January, but I just think he's played that well. And they've went, maybe he's got another year in him, maybe he's took less money. I think he was on big money. Maybe they've came to an agreement with his wages, but I think it's a good move for Hibs to keep him.
Well done to Kelly, Neil McCann.
Brilliant.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I seen him 2 weeks ago against St Mirren, and then obviously they've scored again. A barrel load at the weekend. Finlay Curtis is fascinating because I think I seen them playing against Ludogorets the Thursday before he ended up joining Cavenagh, and I couldn't believe they'd let him go because for me he always looked a threat when he came on, and his current form would most certainly be chapping on the door for the Scotland trip over to America.
Yeah, Conway's not going to be going, we're hearing, so somebody's got a space. Is it a winger or is it another striker? I hope it's another striker.
It's going to jump out for somewhere, but who would everybody have a choice at who is the number 9 now at this moment for Scotland?
Shankland in the first game.
Shankland.
Yeah.
And they'll probably play Dykes the other 2 games when you've got a bit of donkey work.
Wilson. What's the other boy?
Shea Adams.
Sorry, I'm talking about Wilson. Shea Adams.
Dundee 3, Aberdeen 2. Somebody pointed out, I spotted this on social media, Stephen Presley, first point at Ibrox in 23 years, first home victory against Celtic in 37 years, first consecutive victory at Tannadice in 27 years, first clean sheet, couple of victory at Tannadice in 25 years, first victory at Rugby Park in 5 years, first ever victory at Rugby Park in the Scottish Cup, first victory at Pittodrie in 22 years. The big man's doing well.
He's obviously
the big Elvis sent that through you, did he?
Yeah, he did. He sent me a text.
He's obviously got a good reception.
First time beating Aberdeen back to back. Listen, they're 8th. He's done well.
Yeah, brilliant, great. Again,
Imagine getting a job, Roughie, and I don't think you've ever imagined getting a job when people don't like you.
No, I think it was his own fault right at the beginning. You know, with what he came out with. But fair, that's everybody individual to their own thing. But no, I think his brand of football as well. And we all know he needed 10, 12 players. And he got them, and some of them have been very, very good.
Yeah, absolutely. St Mirren 1, Dundee United 1. It was flat as a pancake. I'm sure Craig McLeish is just looking and thinking, get this out of the way because the battle is ahead against your man here.
Yeah, it's a big decision for him. He play his best players in case any get injured. I don't know if anybody did, but let's hope when the playoff comes that there's no celebration on the park for the Thistle supporters.
Alex,
This episode's getting replayed.
you just can't come on the show if it happens. It's unbearable,
Oh, man.
Liability against the Monday tie.
Yeah, absolutely. What about that, Alex? Check liability. 25 fans all going
It's all right. We'll give the points back. By the way, do you know young Stanley said that last week? He says, he says, "Oh, well done," and all that. He says, and we Stanley went, "That's an important point here, away from home." It's the playoffs, mate.
Listen, brilliant. I watched the game. I thought Tony Watt made a big difference. I have to say, just as a wee footnote, Roughie, before Alec gives us his thoughts on the playoff, losing the keeper for
I'm sure Alec would agree that if somebody phoned him up and said, "Right, I want my goalie back," before that game, but he got on with it, and obviously the boy did do the second goal in particular. I think he could have done a wee bit better, but
I think that's the problem you have, is Peter. See, when you take players on loan,
The mercy of
the thing
club,
is, we've obviously got a couple of guys who are on loan from St Mirren and won't be available to us for the final playoff game. So, unfortunately, that's just the nature of getting loan players. They can claim them back.
Are you underdogs?
Oh God, aye. The thing is, you look at St Mirren are obviously been a
Cup winners.
Premier League team for a while now, and they're obviously the League Cup winners as well. So, but listen, the thing is, we've already played them a couple of months ago as well. In the Scottish Cup, which was a good game as well. So, listen, we're all looking forward to it. I think it's great. I think at the start of the season, if you'd have said, "Listen, you're going to get as far as we did," that's 50 games down already. Mark was counting them the other day, and so we've obviously got a couple more to contest.
What would it mean? It'd be unbelievable.
Okay, it'd be brilliant,
great
man.
to get you back.
But Peter, do you know the actual thing? Do you know the thing is? It's like the fan base has kind of grown along with us. That was 8,000 at Firhill. I think it's the most in, I think it's a decade.
Yeah.
So they are very much invested in what we're trying to do, and I'm led to believe that the stands are sold out already. So it's going to be a good night on Thursday as well.
You think a legend would maybe come back and support you guys for that?
Who, Jonah?
Don't. You don't want me and him going?
No. Used to, man. Used to could stay away.
Yeah.
You go to the races or something. Take him up with Perth races.
The Denison boy was going
to I was close on it.
Yeah. By the way, can I tell you something? Can you imagine those two just invaded the pitch just to
it's strike liability.
Yeah, absolutely. Just a couple of things quickly before we finish, and then I'll give you the competition answer. Thank you to so many of you who have put on some really good comments about it all. And for those who are of another persuasion, remember, we always say, what was it we said at the start?
It's not the show for you.
This is not the show for you. This is Decent Football Fans, and thank you to so many of you. Hit the subscribe button. If you go onto our homepage, click the link for the Lucky Tiger competition. You still get time before the draw on the 24th. West Ham, be careful what you wish for. You want to play the West Ham way? I'll tell you what the West Ham way is.
He's not got over the Davy Moyes
out, and now you're going to get relegated. There's your West Ham way for you.
I think.
Look at you. Look, Moisey invited him into the box last month. Get it in before the end of the season.
Hospitality next year.
Can I just say something to you, right? And I know it's unusual, right? But you're going to be able to answer this, right? You talk about you and Mark Wilson. At the end of the day, when I'm sitting here and people think, "Oh, Alec and Peter, great friends," you stick by your mates, don't you?
Yeah, you do. Do you know what the interesting thing about it is? See that derby next year. If they do go down, Millwall West Ham is up there with one of the best.
Wasn't it?
Oh man, honestly. Tam, I'm telling you, it is mental.
Yes, absolutely.
And even the build up, the thing, the atmosphere.
Can I just say something to you? If and I'm not in any way trying to belittle what happened, and we need a bit of humour in our life.
Yes.
But if I was a player and the Millwall fans were coming on for over-exuberance, I would be running off the park and quickly going to the toilet, because when they come on,
I'll be 1 million people.
See the last time at the old Den.
Yeah.
He came streaming on, by the way, and I'm not exaggerating, right? So this guy's just ripped my tap right off us, and I was like, I take it, right? Next minute, the shorts are getting whipped off, and I'm holding my underpants, right?
Yeah.
I went back down, so that was 1993. I went back down about 3 years ago to play for a benefit game, and a guy came in and says, "Can you sign that?" I said, "Oh, it looks kind of like the proper strip it had all the Football League badge on."
Yeah.
He went, "That was the one I got ripped off you with the old Den." And I went, I says, "I was that man." So I ended up signing for him. He kept it for something like, God knows, about 30, 25 years or whatever it was.
Should you have taken him out if you'd taken him
No,
out?
this guy had to stay. Oh, no.
Right, so stick by your mates. Griezmann says farewell. Lewandowski says farewell as well.
Legends.
And Harry Kane wins a Bundesliga, Roughie.
Harry Kane. Can we not get him?
What did we wind up with him? About 50 odd goals? 55, 56 goals?
I think he had about 50, 56 goals scored. Wow. It was just unbelievable. Banged in another hat-trick just towards the end.
Penalties.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely. He's no number 9.
Hey.
He's no number 9.
Number 9, 10.
You're going to get the service with Scotland anyway.
Jose Mourinho, back at Real Madrid.
Brilliant. He's
box office.
Every time you think he's just going to peter away, gets Benfica, then Real Madrid.
Undefeated
Brilliant.
at Benfica.
And by the way, he'll sort out your Mbappes and all that. And he'll empty them.
We talk about managers walking through a door. Can you imagine him walking through the door of Real Madrid? They'll be like, oh no, here he comes.
Aye.
Oh God.
Absolutely. Listen, he's got it. Phil Marston, Benfica unbeaten all the way through the season. Just before we go, the answer to the quiz. How many trophies has Jose Mourinho
7,
won?
would you say, Roughie? 10?
10.
You said 10. Roughie, the knowledge is unbelievable, but it's not for you.
10.
It's 3.
Oh,
I
knew it must be 10 though.
You're getting near
He won 3 trebles or
He
something?
just won 3 trophies in his first time. Didn't win the Champions League. Remember, he won the Champions League with Porto and Inter Milan.
no, but they play all these other tournaments.
And by the way, he won the title, I think it was 2011, 2012, against one of the best Barcelona sides of all time, you know. So great credit to him for that, getting a title. But that was the answer. The other thing I was going to say to you, as we finish off this, Roughie, the shows continue because we're going to be back for the World Cup. We're going to be doing programmes. I'm going to be out doing one-to-ones. The Journals is on Wednesday. We've got lots of programming. Tam's going to be with us through the summer. Obviously, from your own point of view, you've got another 4 holidays to take before we're back for the new season.
Well, I'm going to Miami, so I'll be able to help you out there.
Yeah, absolutely. He's going to see his son, so he's going to do.
He can do a live.
He's going to do a live.
You don't miss, didn't you? You don't miss an opportunity.
By the way,
Cocktail at the beach.
He'll invoice us for the 4 minutes. It's unbelievable.
You're sure I'm going to get it to work?
Yeah, the other thing I was going to say,
Technology.
just out of curiosity, if you become a Premier League assistant coach,
yes,
how difficult is it for us to get you in the Monday?
An extra £5 should cover it, Peter.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly, you're my type of guy. That's the type of thing.
No, these two very over the door.
If you'd have said a tenner, I was about to push the same button that Bertie all pushed for Roughie when he asked for an increase. What did you ask for with Bertie all?
An extra £5, and they said, do you know how many pies we'd have to sell to cover that? I said, I'm sorry, I asked, sorry.
Exactly. Anyway, there's lots more competitions coming as well, but Lucky Tiger's there. And we've also got one where we're going to give you the chance to win yourself a painting of your favourite player, courtesy of First Class Credit Union. We're basically asking you to go onto our website. You can go on there right now, pick not the best player, just the player you think should be in the top 50 players since the Premier League started in 1975. You can put any player in, or you can pick the best player. And then we're going to pick out one lucky winner from all the entries, and you can pick a painting of your favourite player, and it's commissioned to Geo Thompson, the sports artist. It's been fantastic, and I'll leave the last words to you, Tam, because, quite simply, everybody was wondering whether you'd have the boots, the shinnies, the whole Hearts strip on, and you were willing to do it because Gary Locke and the whole Hearts team, backroom team, was organised it.
I was getting it organised, and I was going to sign it and donate it to charity.
Just do it.
No.
Just do it.
No.
Just do it for a laugh.
No, I'm not doing it.
Dear.
Come on.
Listen, by the way, the great Sandy Jardine.
If Hearts won it next year, I'll do it again. There you go. If they win it next year.
You'll do it again. Yeah, that's not bad. The great Sandy Jardine said to me, there's a game on at Ibrox for a noise up. Would you coming along and playing? It was Rangers home against Rangers away. And McCoist and Walter Smith had the whole strip laid out with my name on it, just under the photograph of the Queen, and a note saying, "We've left it specially for you." So, Tam,
brilliant.
Did you wear it? You still got it in there?
I've still got it in there, yeah.
In the chattel?
It's
In the festival.
it's
Just below the confession box.
It's one of the competitions for next year. I'm giving it away. I'm getting rid of everything. Anyway, listen, the banter's good. If you're a football fan, please come back all over the season. There's lots of more shows going on this week. and I'll be out there with the one-to-ones as well, and we're going to be following. Good luck.
Thank you,
on
appreciate that,
Thursday.
yeah.
We really hope that you do it. No discredit to St Mirren, but obviously we've got a bit of bias here. We hope he does it. Thanks to Alec Ray, brilliant for this season, and hopefully we'll get him on through the summer and hopefully back with us next season. Roughie, as ever, season number 15, Roughie, you'll be going into, which is incredible. I thought we were going to get rid of you after season 2.
Free him.
2 was rotten.
Was it?
Oh, murder.
I think you got to say 2, he was half decent.
No, never get an opinion.
I still have a memory in the second year where you sitting in that pub going, I'm not coming back.
Yeah, and a big hello to those people. We're still here. 15 years, not bad, Roughie, is it?
Incredible.
Absolutely amazing. And Tam's with us.
Eighth.
What a sign.
8th year,
signing.
and this is now eclipses my time at Hibs. This is the longest I've ever been in one job.
And it's the longest time we've tried to fight off liquidation with him on board, because every club he's went, he's
Jonah.
Yes, he's a Jonah. Over and above that, you've been absolutely fantastic, Tam, and now one of the finest and most expensive after-dinner speakers on the circuit.
Yes.
Now, what about that, Roughie?
Where does he go next?
Eh?
Where does he go next?
Down south. All there. Then the Apollo, live at the Apollo, smoke, Tam walking out. Hey, administration, sacked. That's the act. In a nutshell. From everybody here, I hope you enjoyed the show. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching.